Hello everybody and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
And my football team won at the weekend.
Here we go. That took long.
Oh.
Is that the best dig you've got?
No, it's going to be throughout the entire show, to be honest with you.
I accept it and I deserve it.
To be honest with you, I felt for you because I feel like the show's more enjoyable to record with you when you guys have won or not had that kind of result. I didn't expect that kind of result.
You enjoy it more when we lose.
Yeah, no doubt, possibly, maybe. And there was definitely moments where I thought my team were going to lose this weekend too. FPL game week 6 wrapped up in a bow of shit. What a rubbish game week for so many reasons.
Oh God, I've just seen your score.
Yeah. 34. I mean, what's your score?
I genuinely had no idea how many you got. Is that what are you done? You finished?
No, I've got 2 players still to go.
Oh, okay. So you can
Sanchez
still beat me.
and Gallagher still to go.
Oh, you can still beat me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not panicking yet. But it really is a tale of an interesting game week because, I mean, what did you score? 41, 42,
47.
47. So 13 points in it. Captaincy blank for me, captaincy return for you. That's the bulk basically, of it, really. Yeah. I know that a lot of people went Ronaldo, then people went Salah and Antonio, and 2 out of those 3 returned. And if you're on Ronaldo, difficult. Add in, like, this whole game week started so badly with Luke Shaw getting booked and then coming off, Rudiger getting booked and losing his clean sheet, and Ronaldo blanking. And you're thinking that 5 points, including captaincy, from those 3 players is never good at all. So that was particularly bad. I did get rescued in the afternoon on the Saturday with Antonio's goal. And then in the late kickoff, both Salah and Jota returned for me, and Ivan Toney picked up an assist as well. So that kind of clawed me back. I think that not many people had all of those. I generally didn't do well in most of my mini leagues against my people that I'm rivals with. However, the difference was 5 to 8 points, which was a good week to have a bad week, if that makes sense. We've seen it before quite often. And there's still 2 players to go tonight, right? A 0-0 tonight is another 9 points. Tidy, I'll take it.
For the benefit of those on the audio, we changed the batteries and Suj has got 4 batteries in his hand.
I'm clicking them, sorry. Listeners.
You weren't yet, but I knew it was going to come. Suj loves the tap.
Click.
47 for me. Main difference being, yes, Salah captain. Also had Jota return as well. Who else did I have a return for? I got Ben Foster's 3 points. Ben Foster's 3 points. Let's ignore the Jose Sarr 14 on the bench and just say, 3 points for the keepers.
I wanted to ask you about that.
Rafinha.
Who scored a great goal. Should have scored another.
And Antonio.
Yes.
So, yeah, you're quite right to highlight. The only difference between us really is I captain Salah. You went Ronaldo. If it swings the other way, my score's yours and your score's mine.
Exactly.
It's exactly it.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Which is why, obviously, it's such an important thing every week.
I made 2 transfers. I moved on Luke Ayling, who didn't even play. Obviously, he was in the stands. For Rudiger, long-term move. So not even measuring it off the back of 1 week. And even if I was, there wouldn't be much in it. And I bought in Conor Gallagher for Mason Mount, who we knew was out. So it made sense to move on Mason Mount while I knew he wasn't going to play, as opposed to Harvey Barnes, who was the other player that was on the chopping block. And the more I looked at, I had loads of options, mate. Sarr, anyone up to 6.3 I could have bought. So Sarr was in there, and a couple of others. In the end, I went with Gallagher.
A longer term choice, must be your thinking.
just longer term. If he returns, he'll keep going up in value, and I'll reassess where I want to be with Jota and even Harvey Barnes moving forward. And I think the West Ham Leeds game actually answered a lot of those questions for me. So I'm comfortable with that. And I've had obviously the Luke Shaw injury throw me up a pain in the arse.
Well, we don't know the info yet on Luke Shaw. Solskjaer's assessment after the game was to suggest that he would be doubtful for the Champions League game this week. I want to say Manchester United a Wednesday night this week.
They were Tuesday last time round.
It must be Wednesday
this
time. That's right. So we'll have some information Wednesday ahead of obviously their game against Everton on Saturday, which I'm pretty sure starts game week 7, doesn't it? It's the 12:30 game, I think. And it's European fixtures. We've already done our Patreon pod today, and I kind of explained the reason why I wasn't going to do anything early this week is because I think Mikel Antonio will start on Thursday, and he can go at any time, right? So yeah, good week to get the information. I know the transfers that I'm going to make if I have no problems. I'll say very straightforward. It will be Josh Brownhill will be coming in for my team for Harvey Barnes, and Lukaku will come in for Danny Ings. 2 free transfers.
Nice.
But I've got Rafinha flagged, I've got Luke Shaw flagged, and I've got the majority of my squad, other than Danny Ings and the goalkeepers, going to play this midweek. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to let these prices go because suddenly I'm in a position. Let's just say Luke Shaw is definitely out. I mean, the 2 names that would interest me most, well, I'll say 3 names. Azpilicueta, Ruben Diaz, João Cancelo. João Cancelo would be the first choice of that from me, top scoring FPL defender at the moment. But if I go Barnes to Brownhill and Ings to Lukaku, I can't afford for the -4 to go for Shaw to Cancelo. So, you know, if I went early now, got rid of Barnes, who's been doing nothing, admittedly, for me, although he's getting closer every week, keeps getting closer every week, and say Jota gets an injury in midweek, and then I could sell Jota later in the week, and it does facilitate that move for the -4. So, I mean, actually going early on what I want to do here would potentially block me and give me a bigger headache. Those are still the moves I'll make, most likely, I think, if I am still okay. But I mean, if I went earlier and lost Jota or Greenwood in midweek, that'd be a sickener to know that it opened up the moving off of Shaw, which is something I want to do ideally in game week 8 anyway. I'm not desperate to do it this week.
Yeah, I've got 2 moves in my mind at the moment that I'd like to make. Barnes to Rafinha is very obvious and is screaming out at me at the moment, and that's likely that I will make that move.
For those who've never listened to us before, yes, me and Suj have both had Harvey Barnes since game week 1.
Yeah. And the second move that I have the money to be able to do, but I would have to take a -4, is Luke Shaw to Cancelo. Now, I might just kick that forward a week. Because they're playing Liverpool this week, and that I don't see a clean sheet for Cancelo. And so if I'm not going to make that move for a clean sheet, and I can easily comfortably field a 3-4-3, kick it forward and give myself more options rather than take a -4 for no reason. Because he'd really have to return big to justify a -4 in this week.
I agree with that, but if Shaw's going to be out long term, then looking at... Say if Ayling's out for me as well, because that's the other thing. Like, I've got Ayling sitting on the bench. Like this, they're at home to Watford this week. So I mean, if I have to play Luke Ayling this week, I'm very, very happy with that. No problem at all. So I need what?
You didn't see Leeds defensively.
I've seen enough of Leeds defences and know the shit. I also seen enough of Watford to know that if the main man doesn't score, they're going to struggle to get goals.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
You wouldn't cry about having that. I know what you're saying about them defensively. Obviously, had 2 younger boys, Cresswell and Shackleton, played at the weekend. But if Ayling's back, he'll go back into that back 4, I think. Although the reports suggest, and Leeds fans seem to be very high on young Cresswell, actually.
He was great.
Yeah, okay, good.
He was great. I think for a young 18-year-old kid to come into a game like that
and play against Antonio
who is a handful. Both Sham from FPL, 2 guys, one guy we chat on when the West Ham games on. He was saying he thought Cresswell he was good. For a young 18-year-old kid, he handled himself well. Yeah. So
this is my point. If I have Shaw out, Rafinha's flagged, Ayling's flagged. Obviously, I've got Zakiri as a dead 4.5 million forward. If I've got those 4 players unavailable, and I made the moves to get Brownhill and Lukaku. Brownhill's 4.4, if you were wondering now, by the way, so it becomes a straightforward choice for me. Then I'm down to 10 players this week. So difficult. Therefore, the -4 is coming in somewhere.
Yeah.
It could be, I mean, if Rafinha was definitely out, I'm pretty sure he'll be okay, actually. But if Rafinha, you're talking about buying him, if he was definitely out, then that's who I sell instead of Barnes. Mm-hmm. That still becomes affordable. But either way, I can't get into Cancelo.
Yeah. Should we talk about some of these games? There hasn't been too many hot topics or other wider news stories, really, in the past week. That we can talk about. I'm sure there's going to be some questions on Twitter.
Only poor people getting hacked.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that's something that we're going to get asked about. If you are in that boat, then obviously gutted for you because it's such a dumb thing for someone to want to do.
There'll be listeners who are not on Twitter and don't have a clue what we're talking about.
That's also true.
There's a number of people who have had their accounts hacked. Essentially, people have got into their FPL team made transfers worth around about 170 points worth or so, and then just deleted the team anyway. So the idea of doing the minus 170 is okay. Even if official FPL did reinstate these accounts, you've got the minus 170, and there's probably not anything they can do about it. It's really unfortunate. Just be very conscious, and we're not naming any names here or anything, but be conscious of some of the third-party websites you use. Most of them are extremely safe, but I would be very cautious of using any that asks for your password, and the password being the same as your FPL team. And I would also recommend that people regularly update their passwords for their teams.
Correct. Just there's nothing more to be said.
The people that it's happened to is really, really bad, and it's quite upsetting, I can imagine. It's the thought process that goes into it. It's that obviously kills your season in terms of your expectation, your rank, possibly your overall history as well.
It's not even their fault or anything.
Nah.
You know, some
No, and we're not saying there's great websites out there which a number of us use that don't ask for passwords and stuff. And it's not to say that those that do are unsecure. I think be cautious about it. As far as I'm aware, I don't use any that's asked me for a password.
No.
And certainly isn't linked to my FPL team anyway.
Yeah, no. Should we talk about some of these games? 9 games to go through, because obviously the game week is not done yet. We do have Crystal Palace and Brighton this evening. Starting off with some of the big guns, so many predicted Chelsea to win this, mainly because of their stellar, superior defensive record. But Manchester City ended up winning 1-0 and have kept themselves firmly within the title race, especially with Liverpool and United dropping points as well. So a good result for Manchester City. I still look at their front six and still have no idea who I would buy. And so I'm really frustrated with Manchester City.
Kevin De Bruyne, if you could afford it.
Yeah, I think... do you know what? I mean, Gabriel Jesus on the right-hand side is a potentially one that we're all sleeping on right now. I like the look of Jack Grealish in midfield if I had to pick one, because he's still quite cheap, because he's still got his Aston Villa price.
Torres is still the one if you get on a pitch.
Torres is not the one, because he's never getting on the pitch. Whenever you own him, he'll troll you like nobody's
But
business.
then if Torres, even if he doesn't, and this is where I get some of the debate, so there will be plenty of listeners who own Torres. He obviously hasn't played at Chelsea at the weekend. It's difficult to foresee he'll play at Liverpool this weekend. But if he gets you a 16-pointer against Burnley, you're happy.
That's perfectly true.
So I get it a little bit, but I just think that frustration is going to be too much for people, and I think I'd generally move it on. There'd be nothing worse than, and it is possible, he obviously doesn't play at Liverpool and then doesn't play against Burnley either. And one of the things I was always quite cold on Ferran Torres was we didn't have the information, i.e. Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden, and what the impact would be. Now, Foden obviously basically played as the false nine at the weekend. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stay that way. I thought when I saw the teams, it would probably be De Bruyne. But Bernardo Silva played a little bit more of a deeper role than what he normally plays, kind of in phases where Chelsea had the ball, went in deeper to kind of hold hands with Rodri, and the rest of the players, including the fullbacks, could really go in and push. They were quite brave, City. They kind of went 2-on-2 at the back at certain times, but it was still difficult to play the direct ball in through Rodri and Bernardo Silva when they were trying to get out. And of course, our City set up tactically against Chelsea gives us no clues necessarily to what they'll definitely do against Liverpool, or what they would do, more importantly from an FPL perspective, what they do at Burnley at home in game week 8. I like you. I think if I had to buy a midfielder right now, Grealish would probably be the one that's top of the list. Missed a great chance to make it 2-0, and at the moment it looks like he's nearly always going to play, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, figures with the amount of money they spent on him, obviously, as well. But I think the priority is the defensive, isn't it?
Cancelo, mate. It's funny because I feel like his name has been mentioned quite a lot. He's only picked up 2 attacking returns this season so far, 2 assists. I mean, 2 assists and
12
12
pointers with both of them. And
yeah,
ironically,
both 5 clean sheets
both
in a row,
assists
mate.
have obviously come from blocked shots, which does have an element of lottery about it. But then, look, these players like Cancelo and Trent, they're basically not defenders, are they?
No.
I mean, it was Cancelo's cross for the Jesus effort was cleared off the line, I want to say, by Thiago Silva as well. So he could have had another assist on top of it as well. At the moment, he's playing. We just never know how long it's going to how long it's going to last. It could be one of them. You get him in this week, they get beat at Liverpool, and then Burnley game he doesn't start, and it's very conceivable, isn't it? So, but I think Cancelo, Diaz are the two. But I tell you what, I don't mind Laporte as a reference point at the moment. He's very interested in something Johnny Pringle was telling me, I think off camera, when we spoke to him in pre-season. We might have done it before I did the COTC, before game week 3 with him. Because I was asking him about Laporte. And he said, look, Laporte was kind of out of favour, but he's got a chance to kind of earn his spot back now. And it feels a little bit like that's happening with Bernardo Silva as well, because it looked like they were trying to sell him in the summer.
Yeah, or he wanted to leave himself, like a bit of both.
And it looks like he's very much being reintegrated potentially into City's best starting 11. I think you have to assume that based on the fact he was picked at Manchester City the weekend. I guess with Bernardo, we're probably not looking at him as a wide forward anymore, particularly now Jesus. I guess you're looking at Jesus, Mahrez on the right, aren't you? Sterling, Grealish on the left, with Foden also can play that role, and then one of them as the false nine. And they kind of go back to Torres' point. It's like, where does he
fit in?
Where does he get in there? You got De Bruyne, Silva, and Rodri in midfield. Fernandinho in there. Foden can obviously play that role as well. So many great options. They were so good, is the big point. That's the best they've played, I think, since before COVID.
Yeah.
They swamped Chelsea off the ball and made it so difficult for them. The tactical 3-5-2, which basically became 5-3-2 that Chelsea put together, didn't surprise me. I thought it would have been Havertz rather than Werner, but I said to a few of my streams at the weekend I wouldn't be surprised if the team dropped and Werner was up front, because of the way they'd finished the game against Tottenham and it had worked for them. And then you're playing against City and you hope for midfield dominance, but that's not what happened. Despite having in theory the extra man in midfield, they just couldn't get any dominance or control in the game, which meant that the front two were far away from the pitch. And I think they'll go back to the three up front. So if you were planning to get Kai Havertz this week, for example, I wouldn't let what happened at the weekend put you off. I'd still go and get him. If Mason Mount's fit and that was your plan, I'd still go and get him. I'm pretty sure they'll go back to the 3-4-3.
Yeah. Manchester United 0, Aston Villa 1. Let's talk about the penalty. That was as bad a penalty as I've seen in a long time.
Well, I was watching the Chelsea City game, like I think many neutrals would have been, and was aware that Villa had scored. Wasn't aware till about 10 minutes after the game what had gone on with this penalty incident, which is harsh, but it's probably handball. And then Emi Martinez has just made everybody's weekend. He's not a Man United fan, isn't he? It's brilliant. The goading to be pointing at Ronaldo, he was basically saying, what's wrong with you? You're buttling it to Ronaldo. And Bruno's in the background. Oh, shut up, mate. And then a little giggle in front of the Stretford end afterwards as well. Blinding. It's just not Bruno's technique. I don't know. Why did he do it?
It just seemed so rash. It was like all common sense, logic, thought had disappeared.
It was angry and just went, I'm going to smash it.
Yeah, just whacked it one for no reason.
It wasn't even close, was it? It's still going,
No, I don't get it at all. But now this is a United team with incredible firepower up top that stumbled across the line against us. Midweek weren't great and have now gone and had a blank again. I don't know, Ronaldo, anytime, any place, he'll sit there for me, no problem. But I'm not desperate to go steaming into many others from Manchester United. I almost see this injury to Luke Shaw as a convenient hop-off. It's made the decision easier, where I probably would have been looking at it in a week or two, being, why is this guy still lingering around for me? He's not particularly delivering. So it makes that choice just that little bit easier. My
reluctance to get rid has been seeing how, since Ronaldo's come into the team, how much bias they've had to attacking down the left-hand side.
A lot, yeah. A
lot, which obviously, I would have no intention to sell him this week before Everton at home. And I know the returns haven't been there and stuff, and when we speak to Gary, he's my cap plan, I'm sure he'll have a laugh about it, because he's the only one sort of all summer was like, nah, don't see it as an option, don't see it as an option. And obviously if he's injured, with the ownership he's got, people are going to come off very, very quickly. And you have to know, with Chelsea's fixture run, plus the performances of City, that's where people are going to go if they can with the money. And of course, The fixture this weekend isn't that bad. It's Everton at home. It's a tricky game, but an Everton without a Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin, even if Maguire and Shaw were absent, I'd still fancy United could possibly keep a clean sheet in that. So that's why certainly wouldn't want to sell him for a hit if he's going to be available this weekend just to save me the 0.1. But the intention was always to sell him on, and that's because beyond Everton, it's Leicester away, Liverpool at home, then an easy fixture at Tottenham, then Manchester City at home. I obviously say it part in jest, but no, Tottenham away is not the easiest fixture. It's a difficult run for Manchester United. In terms of buying their assets, no, it's gone. And Maguire, if he's out, that's just as big of a miss, I think, in terms of his organisational skills defensively. I know some United fans are hot on cold in terms of his performance and stuff. It'd be a big miss with those fixtures coming up if there is a problem with him. Now, Manchester United are in no buy stage, and I think we're at nearly sell stage. I think Greenwood is one I don't want to sell this week. I think had 8 attempts at the weekend as well. I want to say it might have been the most in game week 6. Ronaldo, we've spoken about, obviously, on our Patreon pod earlier, Suj, about the idea that I think so many had planned Ronaldo to Lukaku this week, but actually you don't have to.
Yeah,
Ronaldo is certainly competitive to Lukaku this week. And in terms of feeling like you need Lukaku for all 5 fixtures, Salah is definitely competitive to Lukaku in game week 8. And there'll be a lot of people sitting there with Salah Ronaldo. So Ronaldo captain this week's fine. Salah in 8. There isn't a necessity to force it.
No.
Certainly not for -4, I think.
No.
I think if it's for 3, I would probably still make the move personally from Ronaldo to Lukaku. But then I would have known that was part of my strategy, so would think don't deviate from the strategy just because Lukaku's blanked in 2.
Yeah. It's a tricky one with Manchester United. Mason Greenwood, I would hold as well.
Greenwood most shots in game week 6 with 6 of them inside the box.
My only concern with Mason Greenwood is not even his fault. I think if they're underperforming and they haven't scored the goals that you'd expect, who's the first one you're going to chop out of that front 4? It's not going to be Ronaldo or Bruno, and it's unlikely to be Pogba.
It might be Pogba if they put him deeper.
That's true, but with Greenwood, you can always argue the case, look, he's young, like get him out the firing line for a couple of weeks. He's the first that's likely to be on the chopping block for Sancho or whoever else they want to play on the right.
There are some rumours that have gone around that Solskjaer has asked him not to be called up for England duty.
That's interesting.
I don't know why. I just don't get the logic in that. I think he part wants to protect him. There was obviously the nonsense in Iceland this time last year and stuff. But it hasn't done Phil Foden any harm, has it?
No. I'm interested by that. I think Mason Greenwood...
It's just a rumour that I've heard go round that Southgate wants to call him up and Solskjaer said that he doesn't want him to be called up. Especially if, England have basically qualified for the World Cup now, but if the intention is not to be starting him as well, you'd think he's probably unlikely to start. One of the games is quite weak. I think it's Andorra. Someone maybe play against Andorra and stuff.
Villa? So the thing with Villa at the moment is that they've been playing better last few games. A couple of clean sheets in there. Obviously lost last week, but put in a good performance and won this week. I still look at the Villa squad / team, and I'm a bit curious as to where I would go. Like Danny Ings is way out of budget for me right now. I would have liked Ollie Watkins to be an asset, but still no returns. They've been spreading the minimal returns around a little bit. So like even Buendia Leon Bailey was the one the other week that put his hand up and then disappeared injured. I think I'd end up, if I was wildcarding right now and I wanted Villa coverage, I might just find a way to get Emi Martinez back in goal at 5.5 and be done with it and not worry about the rotation and the headache of the front 5 or 4 or whatever it may be. Just it's more headache than it's worth.
It kind of depends. Do you look at the next 4 and go Tottenham away, Wolves home, Arsenal away, West Ham at home? Is that tough? Is that average? It's not easy, is it?
No, but then if Villa keep even 1 or 2 clean sheets in those, Martinez is going to make saves and pick up max PPS.
Martinez is irrelevant to fixtures. If that's the goalkeeper you wanted, it's who I went with at the start, and it's part 9 because shit like this could happen, right? And he's going to hoover up some bonus to go with it, right? To be honest, though, there's a couple of Villa players putting their hands up. I have to say, in terms of forwards, if I had to buy Watkins or Ings, I'd buy Watkins.
Yeah, me too.
Watkins has looked more dangerous than Ings since Watkins
just hasn't returned, right? You know, that's the
only thing with Watkins. We've been here for a lot last season, haven't we? In terms of, oh my God, has he missed so many chances and stuff? But Watkins looks the more threatening of the two at the moment. What I'm really interested to try and find out with Villa is what's going to happen next. So they went to a back three for the Chelsea game. They stuck with it for Everton. Obviously, Twanzebe was ineligible for the game against Manchester United. Please don't buy Courtney Hawes, although I know he scored at the weekend. But Twanzebe, if they stay with a back three, will probably come back in for him. Do they look at Tottenham and go, we don't need three at the back? And I think the psychic in the mind would be, they'll definitely stay with a back three now, which makes Matty Cash and Matt Targett suddenly quite interesting. I think particularly Matty Cash.
Shout out to Sean for his Poundland Grealish. I did like that the other day.
Matty Cash, I think, particularly interesting. And the brilliant chance that Matt Targett missed during the game, which he should have scored, came from a Cash cross. So the two wing-backs can go forward together. That's quite important. But I'm looking at the makeup of the squad and I'm thinking, Villa got quite a lot of wingers, right? You've got Trezeguet's out long term, admittedly. You've got El Ghazi, Traore, Leon Bailey. Buendia, I wouldn't. Buendia could go into a three.
Did you say Traore? You did say Bertrand
Traore. So I'm looking at it and going, well, in that system, these guys are never going to play. Now,
they're almost inside forwards.
We know Leon Bailey's definitely going to come into the team at some stage, and you're going to want to work Buendia back in there. Those two aren't going to be part of a midfield three. One of the front two would have to come out then if they stayed with this system. So it makes me think that perhaps the three at the back's not long term for Villa. They'll probably stay with it. I think for Tottenham this weekend, and probably reassess once Leon Bailey's in a position once he's ready to start football games. I don't think it's a given that Buendia will come back in, because the midfield three at the moment of Ramsey, Luiz and John McGinn is working quite well at the moment. And Douglas Luiz is getting a bit of interest as a potential 4.5 who's likely to go up in value this week. I have looked at it. He's got assists in his last two, but as I said, Josh Brown was 4.4 now, and he's not likely to lose. Burnley plays exactly. What am I paying for? Oh yeah, the one time that I might need to use him, he might get me an assist or something. No, I'm just gonna go with a cheaper playing player.
Yeah. Everton 2, Norwich 0. A home win for Everton. They're motoring along nicely, if not setting the world alight. They're motoring along nicely, and when you had the injury issues that they had, to walk away with a 2-0 win, you just kind of put the points on the board and walk away and live to fight another day, which is decent for them. Townsend penalty means nothing, because Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, all these guys were not on the pitch.
Richarlison will try and grab it off anyway. I think it's fair to say that, having already taken a couple this year, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, when he's available, will be Everton's first choice penalty taker.
There's a lot of talk, and I mean, we even did a pod on it where we're talking about midfielders at certain price. Doucouré versus Townsend versus Gray. Don't factor in Townsend as a penalty taker in your decision making by any stretch. Another return for Gray, though. Goal for Doucouré.
Well, yeah, well, they are. Those three midfield players, I think they've all scored more than any Man City or Chelsea midfielder, for example, right?
Mad.
When you're looking at the Mounts and the Grealishes and stuff like that. So I think, like, Doucouré may even have... How many's Ferran Torres got points?
That's a very good question. I will search
It's just the one haul, isn't it? So I think, like, all three of these players have scored more than Ferran Torres. I feel we're absolutely certain.
Doucouré's up to 38 points, 34 for Gray and 33 for Townsend. Ferran Torres is on 26. He's way down.
Gray's still the one I would go to because of where he's playing positionally, and I personally would go Doucouré over Townsend. I think Townsend's the longer term, the one that's probably at threat to his position in the team, and also wouldn't be buying this week, despite possible problems for Manchester United. I wouldn't be buying an Everton player before they go to Old Trafford. And with West Ham at home afterwards doesn't particularly interest me. Following that, Watford at home game week 9 is interesting, but then after that it's Wolves away, Tottenham at home, Man City away, and 2 after that's Liverpool at home, and then Arsenal at home after that as well. So it's worth remembering that one of the things we really looked at in pre-season was Everton, good opening 6 fixtures. They've had a good start. Brighton, good opening 6 fixtures. Could go top of the league tonight. They won't, because that's how football works, right? When you have an opportunity to do something amazing, and they can never beat Palace anyway, so I don't expect them to win tonight. But I think the moment's gone for buying Everton players, and actually I'd be more looking to sell what I had. So Luka Dean, I think, is a go now. You've gone for it. We kind of said that you've got to hold for Norwich at home. Now it's a go. There's better options at similar value. I think Luka Dean goes now. Mm-hmm. If you've got the likes of Gray Decore, fine. It's hold at the moment. Rolling. It's okay, and it's
like there's need versus want. They definitely, if you're moving them on, it's a want, not a need, because they're doing perfectly fine. They'll keep ticking.
I think if I was on wildcard, I wouldn't have any Everton players.
No,
he's probably where I'd be at now.
Agree.
But I agree. I think if Gray Decore can stay there for a while.
I was going to say if I was on wildcard, I wouldn't have any Norwich players, but I've got Brandon Williams still in there, and I have 4 million. You know what? Leave him be. I don't have any need to move him out to a Livramento or anybody else for any reason. But Norwich are in trouble. 6 games in now.
Yeah.
6 defeats. It's bad.
The problem is as well.
When does it get better?
Well, this is it. They've got Chelsea away in 2 game weeks' time, and you look at the next 2 and you go Burnley away this weekend, and you think they were a bit unlucky not to win at Leicester this weekend. Like Chris Wood, who's a great 1-week punt, for example, if you want that this week. Then it's Brighton at home. You see him beating Brighton at the moment. And I know Brighton can have some shitty results against some of the weaker sides, but you couldn't see it at the moment, could you? Suddenly you are potentially looking at this and going 0 points from 9. And I think at that point, as much as Norwich fans don't want to lose their manager, a decision's got to be made, I think.
Yeah.
I found his comments after the game was a little bit desperate about certain incidents in the game. And they did have a decent spell at 1-0. What's more notable is that they changed system. And Brandon Williams, actually, in terms of average touch position, was Norwich's second highest player as a left wing back. Max Aarons obviously played right back. They played a back three of Gibson, Kabak and Hanley. They changed that at 1-0 with about 20 minutes to go. Went back to a back 4. It was Kabak was the one that was replaced. The problem, of course, is Janulis is back fit. So it might be that they stay with this as a back 3 and Janulis plays. They're not helped by a couple of players being absent. Todd Cantwell missed out for personal reasons. But what that back 3 does, if they play that system, it allows them to play Pookie and Josh Sargent as a front 2. And I feel like that's where Daniel Farke's heading with how he wants to do this. Needs to give Pookie some support. You just cannot see goals in them at the moment.
No.
And for Billy Gilmore owners, didn't even get on the pitch. That's questionable. That's not the first time that's happened in the last few weeks.
He missed the game 2 weeks ago.
He didn't play at Arsenal either, right? Yeah. So what's in that? I'm sure Chelsea be looking at and going, hang on a minute, what's happening here? We haven't sent him on loan for you not to play, and he's definitely good enough to play for Norwich,
no
right? So, I mean, the conversation about Norwich really is formation, and do you? I mean, 1 week punts. I can't think of a better one than Chris Wood. And that just sums up where it's at with Norwich at the moment, I think, unfortunately.
Let's talk about Leeds 1, West Ham United 2.
I'll leave this to you, Suj.
Did you watch highlights or what did you see?
I've just seen the bits and bobs, mate. I've not looked into this too much because I knew
If
you'd cover
I
it.
said to you, what do you think would Leeds West Ham game? What do you think happened?
Oh, the only thing I want to pick up is that you tweeted about 20 minutes into the
30
game
minutes
and said you're definitely losing this.
Yeah, 30 minutes in. But if I said to you, what happens?
Was that
in the Leeds
kind of
West Ham
reverse
game?
jinx thing that you were trying?
I was trying it a little bit, yeah. About 10% of the reasoning behind it was that. What happens in the Leeds and West Ham game? Is it Leeds West Ham game?
What happens?
Yeah, what would you expect to happen in a match like that in terms of style of play? And
I would expect Leeds to come at you at 100 mile an hour, you to be quite physical and probably drag them down bit by bit.
It was definitely, it wasn't so much that, but the intensity was, it was basketball, end to end to end to end. We've got players like Ben Rama, Fornals that can run at you, run at them defensively when the space opens up and cause them all sorts of problems. And they had, like you said, Creswell and Cooper and that at the back was not the most stable. It's actually ended up being, I thought Calvin Phillips had a difficult game. He was fouling a lot, like he was struggling to keep on top of the runners. But at the other end, Leeds were bombarding us as well. So it ended up just being a great watch. There's many people that will say it, and I couldn't agree more. Like, you just get tired watching Leeds play. It's just tiring.
It make me alert.
I'm not running but I feel like I'm running.
I don't want to play them ever. But then there's 19 other teams I don't want to play either at the moment.
We played them twice last year and again this year. And the reason I tweeted at 30 minutes...
You probably did better than anyone against them across both games.
And even this time round, I think even at 30 minutes, I didn't think we had the intensity to keep up with them for the whole game. It felt like we were a little bit off the ball and they were on it. And if you're ever in that situation against Leeds, it's game over. And that's how it felt. Well, we hung in and we hung in and we hung in. And as the longer the game went on, the second half, we were much the better team and they sat in deep and they couldn't break on us. And when they did, we covered it off well. And they couldn't keep their intensity up for the whole 90 is what ended up happening. And then we started creating more and more chances. And as you got towards the end, it was the opposite of the first half where we were creating more chances and could have scored. And they had the odd counter-attacking, pick us off on the break, and they could have scored as well. Like, really, a draw might have been it probably was the fair result overall. But when Antonio does that, what are you going to do? I mean, he just in front of goal, calm and collected in the 90th minute, and we walk away and take the points. I don't think it was deserved or not deserved. I think a draw would have been a fair result. But I would say, to take away from an FPL point of view, I want Rafinha. I don't own him right now. I'm so surprised that he hasn't had a price increase all season so far. And I think that little yellow flag on him is helping that at the moment in stopping his price going up. Antonio, if you don't own, you got to get him in. And he didn't have his best game. He didn't have his best game either, but he's still there or thereabouts and will get shots off. And I like the look of Benrahma as well. He's the one that takes the impetus from West Ham to drive forward, and he loves a shot from outside the box. And he had a couple of efforts that were on target. I mean, Meslier had a great game. He was probably Leeds' star performer, if I'm honest with you. So, and that says a lot about
Tougher run coming up though for West Ham, isn't it?
For us, yeah, but.
I mean, that as far as with Antonio, as far as I'm concerned, that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Other than it makes him less of a captaincy option because
that's about
the fixtures are harder. Yeah.
Jared Bowen had a good game. The work rate was there. It's frustrating. We had a joke about our clean sheet record in the coming 5 weeks, and we conceded a goal because Suchek.
You need 3 from the next 4.
3 from the next 4.
Yeah.
Now.
Okay. Good luck.
But
with
we
that.
conceded a goal from a sloppy Suchek mistake. A very sloppy mistake. Like he didn't know whether he was passing the ball or turning. Next thing you know, he's given it away and they score. And you're like, just come on, man. That's just human error. But the rest of the game, we defended okay. I think Antonio, Benrahma, Rafinha, yes. West Ham defensive. If you really want Soufal,
my big takeaway from the game, from your perspective, was you left that game with no doubt about Rafinha.
No doubt.
He's top dollar, isn't
top. Yeah, no doubt whatsoever. I wouldn't touch Leeds defensively. There's nothing there that's of interest at all. They'll still do this, and on a different given day, they could have been 2 or 3 up, and then it's a very different game. But we held out, and I really enjoyed it. I was knackered by the end of it, and I think my enjoyment was aided by the fact that we scored a winner in the 89th minute. But it was good. It was good. And even in my tweet that I put out after 30 minutes, most of the comments underneath were people saying, this is really good end-to-end stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. What else do you expect from Leeds? What else do you expect?
Brentford owners, if you still have, obviously need to keep an eye on the news this week. Touchwood, he's fit for you because Watford are home this week. Rafinha, you should probably wait for obviously information because the flag's there. There's no panic or urgency to get him in. They're the main boys.
It didn't seem unfit, I'll be honest with you.
Well, he got taken off half hour ago, didn't he?
Yeah, but I don't know.
But apparently he asked to come off.
Yeah, I don't know.
And he was getting strapping around his leg.
Yeah, I'm not sure how.
I think he'd be okay.
Yeah,
personally, what a wonderful talent. And these fixtures coming up, you look at the next 4: Watford at home, Southampton away, Wolves at home, Norwich away. And I look at that and I think if Leeds play to their maximum, they get 12 points from that. And all this about second season stuff and all that will die.
Yeah.
And I think beyond the next 4, we look at the fixtures and go, oh, there's a couple there that are a little bit tougher. Well, how tough does Leicester at home and Tottenham away look at the moment? Not as tough as we might have thought. Then after that, it's Brighton away, Crystal Palace at home, Brentford at home. Leeds have a fantastic run for the next 8-9 game weeks or so. And I think getting someone in from them should be a priority, unless Rafinha is out and Bamford is out, in which case I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't. Oh, what about Dan James? Or
no, thanks.
Or Harrison didn't start at the weekend, so I think that's off the table.
He was good when he came on.
Well, I'd be surprised.
He was better when he came on.
I'd be surprised. And it's worth saying Harrison was out with COVID, right? And he's never a know what the impact on the player is. Maybe at the moment he can only get through 20 minutes or so. But certainly him coming back in the team, I would have thought would be a priority. But you couldn't buy him right now. So if Rafinha's fit, it's a buy as far as I'm concerned. I mean, those looking, I want to get off Jota now. If you haven't got him, as long as he's fit, just get him. I don't even think there's anything else to debate.
No.
Just get him in.
Yep.
Those fixtures, timing's brilliant. Watford at home, you'd right fancy it, wouldn't you? So, Rafinha, Bamford, if fit, great options. Otherwise, even with that run of fixtures at the moment, it's a no on the defensive, I think.
Correct.
If you've got Ayling, then this was part why it's not a priority for me to move it, because to have him as kind of first sub nearly every week.
Cover. He's just there as fairly decent cover.
Yeah.
Leicester 2, Burnley 2. I mean, I didn't see this as a
great
Desmond.
Jamie Vardy hat-trick.
The first thing, I forgot that you had Vardy in our -56 competition. For regular listeners that are not on Patreon, they won't know. We do a competition where you have to take a -56 every week, 14 transfers, and it's a really, really good competition.
Managed by our mums.
Of course. And we both had Vardy. So as soon as he scored the own goal, because I remember I had Vardy, I didn't remember that you had Vardy in the -56. Thinking, here we go, I'm going to get a beating in that this week.
The problem is in that I picked the only Arsenal midfielder that didn't go off in Martin Odegaard.
Yeah, so Jamie Vardy did come back and score 2 good goals. Having said that, Cornet took his goal well. And so
looks a player, actually. Cornet,
yeah, he does.
But he
does.
went off obviously injured just before half-time. And the one takeaway from me is, and Jack Turfy Top, our Burnley correspondent, I know he'll be listening, Dwight McNeil on the right, mate. Love it. I've been screaming for this for a couple of years. But if Cornet's injured, then it's a no. Goodmanson obviously came on for him, and then McNeil went back to the left. But I really think Dwight McNeil on the right is quite an exciting prospect, actually. And it's Norwich at home this week. We're talking about 1 week punts. Just saying. But Chris Wood, yeah, I mean, if you're wildcarding in game week 8 and you want a forward this week, I would buy Chris Wood.
Fair play.
Absolutely, definitely, I think. Looks kind of fit, sharp. We know he kind of gets returns in spells. Obviously, he was slightly offside. Otherwise, Burnley would have won this game. And as I've said a number of times, they tend to start seasons quite slowly. I think they're getting into a little bit of a groove now. Second half against Arsenal was better. They played okay in this one. They've got a good fixture against Norwich. We know that they'll lose 5-0 at Manchester City in game week 8. But this was kind of the point where we said, maybe now we'd have another look at Burnley. What price are the fullbacks? Lowton and Taylor.
They started the season at 4.5. They're either going to be 4.5 or a little less. I will pull that up for you as we speak.
I bet you there'll be some returns for them boys in the next few weeks. Honestly.
Matt Lowton has dropped to 4.4, James.
I mean, just looking at
as has Charlie Taylor.
Looking at their next 4 home games, Norwich, Brentford, Crystal Palace and Tottenham. I bet there'll be some clean sheets in there. Away fixture at Southampton is in game week 9. It's City away in 8, Chelsea away in 11. But of course, the beauty of people like Matt Lowton is you ain't picking him to start away to Chelsea and stuff, are you? And there's no talk about Burnley defensive players at the moment. I'll have a bet there will be in a few weeks.
And maybe even Nick Pope might put his hand up again.
Nick Pope and Emi Martinez are always options.
Yeah.
Just stick them in and forget, and they'll get the returns. Personally, I think why I prefer Martinez as over to Pope, just to cover that briefly, is other than Twanzebe, there's no 4.5 Villa option. There are 4.5 Burnley options. Yeah, that's why you'd prefer Martinez over Pope, I think.
Leicester. Let's talk about Leicester.
Yes.
What's happening here?
Something's not right.
What's happening here? When's Aaron Legor on the Clash of the Correspondents? Let's get this man.
He just the other week, mate.
Yeah, it keeps getting worse, getting back.
He's got to wait a while. Something's not right. I mean, the obvious thing is to say is play fucking Iheanacho. Might be a good start. It's bizarre that it keeps going on. They changed the system, and I thought they'd play Iheanacho wide of the front 3 on the right. Nope. They dropped Maddison. Still Samari in midfield with Tielemans and Diddy. Ademola Lookman came into the team. Barnes really high up again, getting in decent positions, no returns. I'm not binning him, and just for the sake of it. He's a player I'm going to get rid of if I don't have issues, but I'm not going to fret about, I've got to sell him before Palace away, because he's got to return soon, honestly. I'm convinced of that. He's not going to be going 9-10 game weeks without returning. And so you and I know that the second we sell him, that's when it's coming. I think the change, one of the things I picked up from just looking at average positions over the weekend was Ndidi very, very deep. And I think the reason for that is they've got a major issue centre-back at the moment. Plus, particularly they have a bias towards their right side where they want to get the full-back up really high. Pereira played the first half, Castagna played the second half. It's the sort of shit that makes neither an option, unfortunately. I sold Pereira a little while ago. But they've got a real problem defensively with Vestergaard, Söyüncü's not working. They'll be a little bit better when Johnny Evans comes back in. Aaron has said to us that Söyüncü's got a mistake in him. Vestergaard on a bad day really, really doesn't turn, and people can get away from him pace-wise. Having Ndidi a little bit deeper and sit in front of that just gives them a little bit more protection. Plus, it may have been influenced by this particular game that what a lot of teams do against Burnley is you have a holding midfielder who's a screener in front, and then the centre-back stays behind, and that's so someone's in front of the challenge. So the only way to play it into the front man is by air. You can't play it into a Chris Wood's feet and then get people off him, because you'll have the screening player in front of that. So it may have been an impact of one game. Obviously, and did he go in that deep as well would mean Tielemans could get swamped in midfield. And one of the things Burnley have become much better at over the last year is pressing. As I've spoken before, they have real issues between the back four and the midfield four, but then they'll get in your face in midfield, so there was a possibility that Tielemans would get swamped. Hence Samari playing again. Very different playing against Burnley to playing against Brighton. I think against Brighton, they wanted domination. Against Burnley, they didn't want to be dominated physically in the area. I don't know if this 4-3-3 is going to stick. For me, they've got too many attacking players to be playing that system right now. And it's not working. It's not right. They're not having enough efforts on goal. I mean, Vardy's got 2 brilliant goals that's got them out of this, really.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be going near him. And I know a lot of people, that happens, Vardy gets to, should we get Jamie Vardy again and stuff like that. He's Palace away this week, Man United at home. Brentford away doesn't look quite so the easy fixture anymore. Arsenal at home. The next home game after that's Chelsea. I've got no interest in Leicester players at the moment.
None.
For me, at Vardy, what's Lukaku? What, 1.3 or 4 more than Vardy? Stick it up.
Yep.
Get it up. Like, if you've got Vardy, great, well done. But I'd be not this week. Palace away is fine. And to be honest, the next 3, United at home, Brentford away. But I don't think that's long term at that price. I very nearly started with Jamie Vardy myself, but it very much would have been a short term thought process.
Watford 1, Newcastle 1. Taylor the talisman, I would say, because Ismail Sarr picking up his goal and Alain Saint-Maximin with his assist and maximum bonus points. I look at both of these 2 teams, and that's the only place I would go for either of them in terms of FPL assets. There really isn't. If Callum Wilson was fit, maybe he would be a consideration from Newcastle's point of view. But I know a lot of people are on Dennis and cheaper options from Watford, which I'm fine with as cheap options. But for me, if I was looking at either of these 2 teams, I'd either be buying Sarr or Saint-Maximin, brackets Wilson. And that's pretty much it, really. Yeah,
it's not much more complicated. I feel like Saint-Maximin's returned in 5 of the 6 games now.
I'm blown away that he's had such a price rise. He started the season at 6.5 and he's 6.8, James.
I think...
And he's a forward.
I haven't seen the numbers, but I feel like his creativity is improving.
Okay.
He obviously laid on the chance for Joe Murphy right near the end. What is he doing trying to chip the goalkeeper? Just roll it past him. Anyway. But I think Saint-Maximin and more central areas finding it easier to create for others as well. And because obviously he's such a great dribbler of the ball, he draws people to him, which can create space for others. You're right, there's no other Newcastle player you'd consider while Callum Wilson's injured. And I think in terms of buying Watford, that it's Leeds away, I don't see anything for them, to be honest. If Leeds have got their main 2, Rafinha and Bamford, fit, then it's Liverpool at home, Everton away, and it's a dog's run. It's awful. Their run is awful. I mean, they've got Arsenal, United, Leicester, Chelsea, Man City in a row from game week 11. I mean, you could hold Sarr through that, but I really thought that Sarr was going to be a short-term buy, and I think even already, if he doesn't return at Leeds, people will start looking at that fixture list and going, ooh,
time to move on.
It doesn't have to be, because he's such a consistent, and he's very likely to be their talisman, right? He doesn't have to be a move on, but you'd be conscious that suddenly all Newcastle at home's gone. Once Leeds away's gone, you're going to look at them fixtures and go, I tell you what, a lot of people are returning in this value. Can I find something better already? So I wouldn't go chasing the Ismaila Sarr points.
No.
Look at it now. You've missed Norwich away and Newcastle at home. Yeah, great. He scored in both of them. I'm going to go and buy him now. No. I should have bought him 2 weeks ago or had him at the start would be where my take on it. You could make a case, yes, Leeds away. There's every chance of return at the weekend. But beyond that, some really, really tough games for them to come. One thing I did notice, Josh King, who's obviously playing up front as the 9 for Watford at the moment, his average position in the first half was deeper than Cleverly, and I forget who came on, forgive me, for Watford in the second half. Not Kuka, not Lauser. Who's the other fucking one, Suj?
Cucho, no. I don't know.
I'll get no internet in this studio. But he had an higher average position than Josh King in the second half as well. So he's dropping in. I think the idea is to get the wide players to obviously go beyond, which is good news for Sarr. João Pedro is going to start putting some pressure on Emmanuel Dennis. You should be aware of that. I think if I had Dennis, I'd probably start him again this week. And then I'd be thinking, can I save the money here, or can I get it up to a proper third forward or so? But yeah, I wouldn't be buying from either of these two clubs at the moment. So Newcastle have a few good fixtures. Again, though, I think if you were buying St. Maximin, you'd have probably gone in before the Watford away game. But if it's facilitating because you've got an injury or something like that, fine. And forwards seem to be getting injured every week at the moment. So I think St. Maximin short term, fine. As is Holding Sarr, but I wouldn't go and buy from these two now.
No.
And Ben Foster played in goal for me, yay. I don't thank Daniel Backman for costing me my points this week. I chose say Sarr.
Yeah, because he picked your FPL team indeed. Brentford 3, Liverpool 3. I mean...
super game.
Yeah, I think every week that passes, people are now drinking the Brentford Kool-Aid and think that they're going to stay up, and they've actually brought something to the table. I'm really, really looking forward to the game on Sunday now against West Ham at our place, and seeing them live and seeing how they do set up, because we will give them a very difficult game as well.
I think they might give you one as well. I'm not saying I don't expect you to win, but
yeah, so you want good games of football, and that's what I hope we're going to get. Most predicted Liverpool to win.
You would, wouldn't you?
But defensively,
and
they have problems.
Hey, I saw Dan FPL Local, our Liverpool correspondent, said that the back four should be made to walk home. Like, so many basic direct balls came and threatened them, which actually, when you look at... I'll probably talk about this when I come on. If it's not, it'll be on Tottenham anyway. But say, like we've spoken about Ben White getting targeted at Arsenal, right? You wouldn't think, I'm going to target Van Dijk and Matip aerially. You wouldn't think that, would you?
Tony's got the cojones to do it, hasn't he?
He is very much Premier League level. I used the comment I said on our Patreon pod earlier about Pookie disappearing up his arse after a great start a couple of years ago. This fella is not going to.
No. And
it doesn't mean that he's going to get attacking returns. It doesn't mean he's going to be a great FPL asset. What he is definitely Premier League level quality. And I think a lot of, with respect to Brentford, if he continues at the way he's going, there'll be some serious clubs looking to buy him next summer.
He is an FPL asset, though, realistically.
Oh,
right?
I see him becoming my third forward in the longer term.
Yeah, 29 points now. So that's average of 5 points a game, give or take. And decent. I can't see him leaving my squad now, to be honest with you.
No.
No reason.
It's low priority. I mean, you've got through the Liverpool game and has proven that the players like this who are talisman for their clubs can return in an odd way. You're actually, with a 3-3 draw, you're disappointed that he's not got more than the assist.
Yeah. Every time it was, yeah.
And he obviously did have the effort. He was clearly offside at the end, but he's absolutely buried the chance, which would have made it 4-3, was obviously offside. But he just highlighted his quality. It's an absolute nuisance.
Hell of a finisher.
The relationship that him and Mbuemo have is extremely good. They understand each other's game. I did a lot of analysis for our advanced tier patrons on the two of them and Brentford generally last week. Two things really stood out. Offensively, the relationship between Mbuemo and Tony, and it reminds me a little bit of... I can't believe I'm bringing Nuno into this, but Jota and Jimenez when they played as a two for Wolves, and they'd have attacks sometimes. You'd be like, it's only the two of them. How are they causing so much trouble? And the two of them are a bit like that. I think Mbuemo going forward is going to be a very good potential FPL asset as well. We were concerned pre-season what system would they play. while they're playing like this, and there's no issue in terms of personnel, they're going to stay like this. And I think Mbeumo and Tony are both really good options. Now's not probably the time to buy with West Ham away, Chelsea at home, but I would probably urge people to hold these players actually at the moment. And I definitely want to have a good look at them again. I think probably as early as game week 9 when they play Leicester at home. And they've got Burnley, Norwich, Newcastle, Everton, Tottenham, Leeds after that. I'm very confident that I'll be going back to, I've not owned. Actually, I will go to Ivan Toney at some point in the next 4 to 5 game weeks. I think I want to shift to a front three and I want to get him. I think if Antonio got injured this week, I'd obviously go Lukaku. But I don't know, let's say I got to Friday and Antonio and Ings were both out. And it's every chance that I would go Toney.
Yeah.
Even though time-wise, just not right, I just look at it and go, long-term decision, he's actually probably the best in that value. And I think there was a time to attack St. Maximin, which I think has just gone. There is a time to attack Armstrong, but it's a little bit concerning. Obviously, we'll talk about them in a sec. Southampton haven't scored in the last 3. It's a little bit concerning. Toney, I'm convinced he's going to be a very good asset. And I'm convinced that actually he might get sold for quite a lot of money next year.
Well, they wanted 40 or 50 last summer as well. They'll get their price.
But if they don't get their price, they won't sell.
Exactly.
We know how they work, actually.
Yeah.
Liverpool.
Is it time now to consider coming off 3? They've got some tricky games. They've got City, then they've got United a couple of games after that, and West Ham's in there, Arsenal's. They're games that on the whole Liverpool will still come out doing okay, and they're still scoring goals.
Trent and Salah go nowhere.
Yeah,
I'm not bothered. Not bothered at all in terms of the fixtures with those two.
Salah's on 57 points, mate.
Salah
already.
Yeah, Salah I definitely want to keep because I think I'll actually captain him, I think, over Lukaku in game week 8. Partly because Lukaku's opponent will be Brentford whilst Salah has Watford. Game week 10, Salah has Brighton at home while Lukaku has Newcastle away. Now, I don't need to make that decision now, but I certainly want to get there and have the alternative option, I think. That's why there's no thought to sacrifice Mo Salah at the moment. And he's brilliant in the sense that you can just captain him anyway. Like I defaulted to that in game week 4 at Leeds when everyone else was kind of Ronaldo or Lukaku. And I know everyone else kind of blitzed me when he scored twice. But he could have matched him. He really nearly could have matched him in that particular game. Jota's more the decision. I think my problem is, the more I think about it, I'm just absolutely convinced that he's a super long-term asset, even in spite of the doubt of him being in the team. How many other players at his value are going to match him, even if he's not starting every week?
There's a few below his value that I think could. Rafinha's, Benrahma's.
I've got Rafinha.
Yeah.
Benrahma doesn't particularly interest me at the moment, I must say, because you're about to come into a tougher run.
Yeah, I just think he's still going to be one of the key creative. Like, if you had to buy one of Fornals, Bowen or Benrahma, there's not even a debate. You buy Benrahma.
I get that.
But I get that, yeah. There's plenty in and around. He's, again, Jota, a want, not a need, right? There's no need to get rid of him or fix that problem because he's still delivering. It's definitely a want and a fear. You're operating from a point of, is he going to lose his place and should I get ahead of the curve? I think for now, deal with the problem after it happens. Yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at. Like, so when he gets injured tomorrow night, it's a problem, isn't it? No, yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm fretting about, he might lose his place. And as I said earlier, what if he doesn't?
Yeah,
then I still want to keep him, even with, City at home and United away in the next couple and West Ham away in the 5th fixture as well. The Christmas is quite nice. Do I want to move? I've got the value held in him at the moment. Do I need to move him on? I think actually, if I had to sell Jota or Greenwood now, which is a choice I'm probably not going to make, but if I had to, I think it was Greenwood that would go for me rather than Jota, ironically.
Southampton 0, Wolves 1.
Oh, Jimenez is a great one-week punt this week as well, by the way. I'm so pleased that he scored.
Yes.
I think most people are.
Yes, and he needed to get that monkey off his back.
And it was such a brilliant goal as well. The sort of goal that I don't know if anybody else had this. I was in the World's End in Finsbury Park, which is a dangerous place to be, but I was with some Arsenal people who were right and weren't grassing me up. But I saw the goal. I wasn't really watching the game. And did anybody else have that moment where they thought, oh, Lukaku will destroy these next week?
Potentially.
From thinking, oh, they look much better defensively to, oh, actually, if you can isolate that. I mean, Lukaku just bullies that, doesn't he?
Yeah.
If Jimenez has done it, Lukaku will do it. Which is a pointer if you are thinking of obviously going without this week. They've obviously lost Jack Stevens for 12 weeks is the reported in, so it's got to be Bednarek and Salisu at the back. Now, I kind of thought that would be first choice anyway, but a few people have said that Stevens has been doing all right.
It was Stevens and Salisu, and I thought Stevens was the better of the two. I thought Salisu is the one that might be at risk of losing his place.
Bednarek's very experienced though, isn't he? His first choice for Poland and stuff.
Yeah.
No goals in 3, as I said a little while ago, is becoming a little bit of a concern. And obviously after this week, they have a super run. Leeds at home, Burnley at home, Watford away, Villa at home, Norwich away. I mean, imagine that. 3 decent home games, and you've got Watford and Norwich away. It really is a good run. I wouldn't rule out me looking again at Adam Armstrong next week. Otherwise, I don't see an interest in him. Obviously, Livramento goes without saying, and I guess people will have a choice after this week in terms of, oh, do you want to start playing him regularly? He's an option if you're looking to shove the funds around and go, oh, I'll go free, kind of Livramento, Duffy and Brandon Williams, for example, and just play Livramento after this week. But I think that's a bit concerning that they changed a little bit for West Ham, then they went back to what was more common against Man City. They were unlucky, let's be honest. And you could say they were a little bit unfortunate this weekend as well, because I mean, Sar's made 6 saves, right? So it's not like they've not had efforts on goal and stuff. But Hassan Hüttl's comments after the game about, we're struggling offensively is concerning. When the own manager's coming out and saying, we're struggling to put these chances away. Makes me think I might just be skipping that good run of theirs.
Yeah, there's a bunch of teams at the bottom of the table there with no wins so far. Southampton being there, Newcastle there, Leeds are there, but I think Leeds we're less worried about. But Burnley still down there, Norwich still down there. I think there's one other team that haven't won a game yet this season. I might be wrong.
Why did I think it might be Tottenham? It just feels like
you won your first 3, you muppet, 1-0, and that's a perfect segue because we were talking for an hour, and to be honest, people have only tuned in. No one wants. People have only tuned in for this.
No one wants to hear that shit. Trincao and Traore left out.
Well,
I was never keen on them two as options, and I don't want to be the hindsight person about it. The problem is if you've got those players in Newcastle at home now, you've got to keep them. You have to. In all seriousness, Jimenez is still very viable. We haven't mentioned him in kind of the same discussion as Tony and stuff like that.
But now, wait and see what happens now. He's got his goal off his shoulders, that pressure, and see where he goes to.
It looks like the back three is probably going to stick, I think, after this win. There's some talk. I met Bradley Parker before the cup game in Wolves last week, and he thought that they could go back to a back 4 as early as that cup game. They didn't. They obviously didn't do it again this weekend. I was surprised that Bolly didn't come in the team for Sayis. Reynate Nori missed the game against Southampton because of concussion. He may put some pressure on Marcel in the coming weeks for that wing-back spot. But if you've got Wolves, you've got to have it this week. The only Wolves player that I would consider buying at this stage is Raul Jimenez.
Yeah, agree with you on that. So,
possibly the goalkeeper if you're on wildcard. And the one good thing is people go, oh my God, the 14 points on the bench, James. Yeah, it was a close. I said to you Friday, it's my toughest decision who plays in goal. Holds the value for me, which is good because when you get a 5 million goalkeeper, if he's not getting returns, very quickly could lose that value. So that's a nice return that's going to mean he's not a problem for me, and he will definitely be in goal for me this week. Oh, fuck off.
Arsenal 3, Tottenham 1. I watched the game with a Gooner, and I was always kind of set.
I thought I watched it with 57,000 Gooners. It wasn't enjoyable.
But early on in the game, I saw Aubameyang closing down Davinson Sanchez and putting pressure on, and I was like, "Oh, he's working hard here." And then I saw it through the whole Arsenal team, and I was like, "Okay." Similar, it reminded me of the Leeds game yesterday, and certain games where if you don't turn up with the right intensity, you're gonna struggle and 100%. And that's exactly what I noticed in the first half. I was like, Arsenal just want this more. They're going to work harder. They're going to cover more ground. And you didn't have a response to it. And then before you know it, you're 2 or 3-0 down. And then the crowd was really behind them, really singing. I'm sure the atmosphere was good, but not good, if you know what I mean. Not
Steady.
Good for you. And then you're looking at it thinking, they just wanted it more. And the front 3-4 with Odegaard and Smith Rowe and Saka and Aubameyang, anytime they were running at you, they were causing you problems. Some of the passing moves that Arsenal put together, I was like, this is not Arsenal. What's happening here? Overall, it did kind of fizzle out a bit, but then when they're 3-0 up and seeing out the game, you can understand why that can sometimes happen.
Oh, yeah. They'd let Tottenham come on in the second half.
They really kind of sat back in a little bit, but give Arsenal all the credit because they were up for it. The manager got them up for it. They worked hard and they took the points, but very disappointing from a Spurs point of view.
Anyone still think Arsenal will get relegated? We spoke about this after the Man City game and prior to them playing Norwich in game week 4, was that we were expecting sort of 6 or 7 changes to the Arsenal team for that Norwich game. The team that Arsenal picked yesterday, in my opinion, is Arsenal's strongest 11.
Xhaka and Partey, Saka, Smith Rowe, Odegaard in behind Aubameyang.
That's their strongest 11.
Yeah.
Definitely the best centre-backs. Tomiyasu, you know who Tomiyasu reminds me of? A little bit like Soufal, actually.
Yeah.
Difficult player to beat, yeah.
He's decent.
The goalkeeper's got the shirt at the moment. So, I mean, I think after that now...
That save
at
from
the end
Lucas was a
magnificent
worldie.
save. Although he probably feels he probably should have saved Son's one, in fairness. So.
Yeah, true.
But he doesn't lose the shirt at the moment.
No.
Fairly convinced of that. And what I can tell you from being at the ground yesterday, he's built up a rapport with the fans there already.
Okay.
So the fans want him in goal now as well.
Agree with that, yeah.
So if I was on wildcard, Aaron Ramsdale would be serious consideration. I think because of Tomiyasu, again, Arsenal have a real left-sided bias. So,
oh, sorry. I thought you were going to say there's a 4.5 million alternative.
I would go Ben White over Tomiyasu just because it's cheaper.
And would you go Ben White over Ramsdale? See, I've got Ben White from the start of the season, so it's not really a decision for me.
I just think it's probably more a case of there are alternatives to Ben White. It's not a problem, don't get me wrong. I just think if I was wildcarding right now, I think clarity would be goalkeeper right now. So that's the one I'd probably go with. And the one Ramsdale is generally good. He's a decent shot stopper. We'd be criticised about some other parts of his goalkeeping in terms of some of his decision making. His distribution is quite good, by the way. But I think that's where I'd go. I'd take a chance. He has the potential to be a good FPL goalkeeper, is what I would say. Ben White is never going to score you big.
No.
He's good cover for you. He's decent price. He'll get you 6s, the odd 7, stuff like that. Tierney will get the odd 12, 14 or so every now and again. They have such a bias to the left side. What they do, it works really nicely for them. Tomiyasu comes in centre. Ben White becomes the sweeper. It suddenly gives him protection on either side if they lose the ball on a turnover. Gabriel basically plays left-sided position. Kieran Tierney goes and plays left wing. Saka plays right wing, and then Smith Rowe comes off the left, and him and Odegaard play behind Aubameyang. And actually, they transition from what on paper is a 4-2-3-1 to something that more resembles 3-2-4-1. And they're good at it, if allowed to, and they were yesterday. I think Saka he's getting his shot numbers up.
Sure.
And he's sure.
Yeah.
As in like Luke Shaw. Are you sure?
Sure, he's getting his shot numbers up.
Sure.
He just came up as Google Assistant decided to say, sure.
Sure, he's getting his shot numbers
I was pulling up, as we wrap up this game, I was pulling up the Twitter questions.
Oh, I see.
To prepare, and it decided to just come up with
Google
Assistant. Sure.
Maybe we'll call the pod Sure. Are you sure? I'm sure we were shit.
Yes.
Saka's getting his shot numbers up, and I think it's an interesting asset. I think on what I saw yesterday, I was concerned in pre-season that he won't get the attacking returns. I'm beginning to feel like that is the next stage for Bukayo Saka, and it might be coming. Yeah. And we've obviously seen yesterday him and Smith Rowe have both kind of hauled. I guess the thing is, because of Smith Rowe, can you just make the save in there and go Smith Rowe at, say, 5.3 is very interesting. Remember, as I said, he's coming off the left, so he's got the immediate link to his left of Tierney on the overlap, and obviously he's a good ball carrier. He gets in the box more than Odegaard, really. Odegaard's kind of sits there and links all the play, even though he starts from a higher original position in many of Arsenal's attacking phases. They were good. I don't want to take anything away from them. I take the piss out of Gooners all the time, so I'll look down the camera and say, congratulations, Arsenal fans, fully deserved victory. Twitter questions.
I'm not buying any Arsenal players. I'm not buying any Spurs players. Harry Kane, I was trying to figure out...
Smith Rowe, Saka, or I've got eyes on now.
Yeah, because their prices are very good. To lose the ball twice in the same move that ends up in them scoring is achievement unlocked, surely.
At least Harry Kane attempted to. I mean,
track back the entire pitch and slide in, and you got a feel for him, but the way it ended was just like,
it just added to it. But about he doesn't care, and at least he tried to run the 60 yards to make up for it.
To make up for it.
I'll have to save what I think of Pierre-Emile Højbjerg on the first goal for the non-kids patron show. The fuck, mate. Honestly, next time you watch that first goal again, just watch Højbjerg, and I'm dying inside. I'm actually dying. I want to go on a pitch and punch him in the face.
Oh, he's really upset you.
Tactically, it was a car crash, clearly. And we'll talk a lot more about Nuno on our Patreon podcast on Wednesday. And he's already at the stage where he's 1 or 2 games from the sack because it's been that bad this month. The tactical idea appeared to be to go quite direct, which I don't mind in theory and practice, because we've spoken about the targeting the Ben White and certain teams maybe not being unapologetic
Harry
about
Kane's
it.
Good hold up, brings players in.
And obviously White's the right-sided centre-back. You're close to Son for the second balls for him to go behind or drop it into him, and then you're attacking him. That's fine. The idea that Ndombele and Dele Alli were going to completely vacate the midfield area and leave Højbjerg there on his own, so that when the centre-backs had the ball... I mean, the amount of times... It's easy to criticise Sanchez and Dyer, who didn't have a great day, don't get me wrong. But the amount of times that they had the ball in the centre-back positions and the only option was to go long, because none of the midfielders either by instruction or didn't have the bravery to go and get the ball. Well, it's disastrous. It's so bad. Then on top of that, Højbjerg wants to go and press like he's still playing right of a midfield 3, forgetting that actually he's been left in midfield by himself. And Arsenal's 3 goals were basically all exactly the same. They completely exposed the problem, did it very well. And actually, I'm quite pleased that the game didn't end 5 or 6-0. Because it should have.
Yeah.
I would have no interest in buying Tottenham players. Sonny will tick along. Like, if you've got, it's fine. He's still a brilliant asset. You wouldn't go and buy him now, in my opinion, generally, unless it worked for you and you had loads of money in the bank and were selling a Jota.
When you've got the likes of Salah, Ronaldo, Lukaku,
I don't know.
Where are you getting?
I don't know. But if you're in that
position,
son, you can look at the next 2 and go Villa at home. But we've spoken about back 3 being a little bit more difficult. Newcastle away, there are decent 2 fixtures. Then there's tougher games. United at home, West Ham away. We won't get fuck all at West Ham at the moment. That's a certainty. So for me, it's a no-no. Interestingly, Tottenham's team, and again, I'll talk about this more on Wednesday, is 11 players that were at that club last year. And Nuno, don't worry, he's going to get it both barrels. And honestly, if he got sacked tomorrow, I wouldn't bat an eyelid and have a problem with it, because he's the major problem of what's happened in the last 3 games. But he is still picking up the mess of the previous manager. One that I spoke about is so much with you about, he must get them fit. And in pre-season, I thought that they did look fitter. The problem is, I think he had a solid pre-season with a core 11 players who were playing nearly every game in pre-season. And he's obviously been able to add in people like Kane back in since and stuff like that. But everybody else has got fit. He actually had an advantage in pre-season for the start, because he was playing nearly the same team every pre-season game to get them fit. Now everyone else is fit, and we look exactly what we are, which is the most unfit team in this league. And you've got a manager who's managed them who can't get his team to press, which is the same problem that the previous manager had. Also, this one doesn't want them to. And I actually think that part of the tactical problem yesterday was actually he was trying to play that game offensively, not defensively as everyone may think. I think he was trying to be offensive yesterday, and it just went badly wrong.
Who are you playing on Thursday in the Conference League?
NS Mura from Slovenia.
At home.
And
At home.
8
p.m. kickoff.
8 p.m. kickoff, and I expect to see full rotation.
Yeah. But again, losing that is not going to be ideal.
But Kane and Son, well, that's part of the problem. He might have to play him now because he knows if he loses that game, I mean, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Kane and Son should not be playing in that fixture, and that goes for a number of others.
I'm worried about that because if you lose that for whatever reason, then getting through in that is going to become more difficult. But then the pressure builds up. Tricky times at Spurs.
There are some players that can be brought in that can quickly reinvigorate the team a little bit. I have to say, Steven Bergwijn's been a bit of a miss for us this month, actually. But Romero, you didn't spend £40 million on him to sit on the bench. Get him in the team now. Emerson Royal at right back. Interestingly, they could have bought fucking Tomiyasu for cheaper, and he looks a far better player than Emerson, but get him in the team. Begin to integrate Brian Hill in that team now as well because he can press from the front. He's a good ball carrier. So there are fixes, but yeah, it's in a bad way at the moment. Very bad. And it can't continue or they'll pull the plug.
Yeah.
Every Tottenham fan is sitting there every week looking for PSG's result.
Oof. We are going to get into some Twitter questions, James. I'm going to avoid all the Spurs ones. I think you have
suffered enough.
Had to suffer enough. I'm going to actually pick as many non-FPL as we always can.
Adam Pritchard DM'd me last night.
With he said, the hug emoji.
No, Adam's great, our Arsenal correspondent.
Of course he is,
and he was like, fuck me, you were bad. I was like, yeah. I know. I think Adam could tell I wasn't really up for the conversation, but he did say, fair fucks for you having to do that on the pod tomorrow. But that's bad. I mean, I could comfortably spend 3 hours on the game.
Yeah. Well, that's a Tottenham for the patrons, and that leads us into tell everybody what they have to look forward to for the rest of the week, if you don't mind. And then we'll get into a couple of Twitter questions, main pods and the lot. And I'll give the old Patreon a plug as well.
Do you need to do the camera? I feel like you do. All right, fine. People's Poll Podcast. Vote is open to around about 6 p.m. UK time, and time of recording, it's quite close. So there's the option to vote for Hearts again. It's the UK biggest owned fan club. I can tell you now, if it doesn't win the vote, we'll be doing that podcast on Patreon next Tuesday. Dementia in football. Nuno made some comments. Yeah, that guy again. He made some comments last week, which not particularly good. And it's an ongoing issue. There was one game that was trialled somewhere, I think in a lower league this weekend, with heading banned. Part of this because of the impact of footballers suffering dementia later in life. That's an option. And what's the third option? Biennial World Cup. People at FIFA want a World Cup every 2 years.
Of course they do.
UEFA don't want it. I wonder why FIFA want it. I wonder why UEFA don't. That's an option, and we can delve into that if that wins the vote. Wednesday, Sky Fantasy Football. Thursday, Clash of the Correspondents. I'm laughing already. Is Tottenham versus Aston Villa. So there'll be more Tottenham to come. With Ricky Saunders, who, spoiler, I can tell you, would sack Nuno right now.
I did see that on the old Twitter.
Aston Villa's Lee Jackson. So there'll be more Villa for you on Thursday as well. Friday I'll be streaming. Saturday morning I'll be streaming ahead of the deadline. Our Patreon pods are Q&A, which we've already released today. Tomorrow's podcast is Champions League preview, UCL Fantasy preview. Wednesday
Tottenham.
Is... Does it have to be?
Tot.
I'm probably going to lose my mind on that podcast. Thursday is quiz, which is going to be based on players from CONCACAF nations, North and Central America zones who have played in the Premier League. Friday will be our Game Week 7 differential show preview.
Perfect. If you want the additional content that James mentioned and you want to support the show, wait till, well, to be fair, if you go and sign up to our Patreon now, after listening to this, you will get it refunded because you get billed again on the 1st of October, which is Friday. So, the last few days of the month, you'd get billed twice in a week. So if you're thinking of joining on the 1st of the month, just get it done. And
what Suj is saying is, if you want to hear me explode on that podcast on Wednesday,
get it in.
Sign up now. James will refund you. Then you'll be charged again on October the 1st on Friday.
Job done. And you will get access to our Slack channel, cash leagues, more podcasts. James does advanced tier videos, tactical analysis, a great rundown the other week on last Friday on Brentford and how they're doing so well tactically.
Like that.
Yeah, well worth the few quid that it would cost you.
You ain't an advanced tier patron.
No, mate. I'm sitting here for an hour and a half recording this. I deserve to watch your Brentford video. Right, and basically head over to Patreon. You'll find out more. We're going to do 3 questions, James. I found 3 good questions.
Okay.
That are not FPL related at all.
Yeah.
Because we need to.
Are they Tottenham related?
No. I'm not that bad. FPL governor. It's Watsits versus Quavers in the semi-final of the Crisps World Cup. Who wins And who do they play in the final?
So you might be thinking that's a bit random, but Quavers came up on my stream. I think on Saturday, it might have even been my Suj James stream on Friday. Someone asked me what was flavoured crisps that they don't do anymore, but you'd have. And I could think it was Quavers.
They make them now.
This is right. This is the point. Prawn cocktail and salt and vinegar. And so everybody in the stream was like, no, they're still going. They're still going. So I told the missus at the weekend, just under orders, go and find them Quavers. Otherwise, I might have to go and buy them myself from somewhere. Going to go Google it. A few people messaged me and said, James, do you want me to send you some prawn cocktail and salt and vinegar Quavers? I was like, no, it's okay.
It's a 30p bag of crisps.
It's very kind of you, but I can buy my own fucking crisps. But I appreciate the kind gesture. So Quavers was winning anyway. What's-its?
What's-its are cheesier. So if you're going all in on the flavour, go What's-its cheesy.
What's-its did flavours ones that were banging as well, actually.
Oh, fair play.
Didn't they do like barbecue and some other ones and stuff? I'm sure they were banging.
Not from my memory.
Yeah, flavoured What's-its was a thing.
Not from my memory. I'll tell you who they're playing in the final, though. Skips.
I reckon What's-its are more expensive. So if you want to send me some flavoured What's-its, you can send me them.
Yeah. We're in the budget end of the crisp market here. We're not talking about, your premium Tyrrells and all of that shit.
Nah.
But in this budget end of the market, who are they playing in the final? Skips. And the best thing about skips is to not eat them. Just stick it on your tongue and let it melt.
Oliver Skip had a moment yesterday where he won 2 tackles in a row, and it was the highlight of the game.
The highlight of Oliver Skip coming on for me yesterday was when my mate that I was with, and I know he doesn't listen to the pod, goes, because it was a halftime substitution, right? And he's standing there, who's that? Dawson. And me and another guy look at him. Do you mean Michael Dawson?
Craig Dawson?
Like, yeah. Michael Dawson. I was like, that guy retired a while ago, bro. He's like, oh, he looks exactly the same.
Does he?
I don't know. Does it either blonde hair?
It's about foot difference between the two of them.
Blonde hair and looks. I don't know. But anyway, that was when Oliver Skip was coming on. I was like, no. Like, which Dawson are you on about? And if it's Michael Dawson, I don't know.
It's hindsight talk, but actually, in hindsight, it would have been a good idea if he played for Tottenham yesterday.
Dawson.
No, Oliver Skip, you prat. Because at least he got the occasion. Many of our players didn't. You spoke about Arsenal players understanding the occasion and stuff. Oh, fuck. Next question.
David H. FPL Gills. Do you prefer camembert baked in the oven or on a cheese board?
Who?
Camembert, the cheese.
I'm not a big cheesehead.
Oh, you're not?
No.
Camembert has to be baked in the oven because then you slice the thing open and you dip in bread and it's gooey. Just sliced on a cheese board cold. Ain't doing it, mate.
All right.
Ain't doing it. Hard cheeses are fine on a cheese board, but soft cheeses generally you would prefer to have them warm. Camembert
I'm
being
not
one.
a big cheese head. Have
you had a camembert, baked camembert?
I didn't even know what it was.
Oh.
I thought it was something you'd shoot in the woods.
We will have a baked camembert here and film it, and people can watch us.
Don't kill bears.
I notice how like so many channels now have 2 channels. People launch spin-off channels for various reasons on YouTube. We need a spin-off channel.
You mean Andy has?
No, I know loads. Like if you look at another big YouTuber I follow, MKBHD Marquez, he's now got his studio channel. The guy from Unbox Therapy launched another channel, Lou Later. Lots of people.
I don't think we've got enough subscribers on YouTube to worry about a second channel yet.
No, but actually the second channel, which would be things like you eating camembert, would get way more views than anything else.
Oh, listen, I could be a nutcase and would get loads more subscribers on YouTube, but I'd rather.
Do you know what we spoke about last week and we said we were going to do and we haven't? And if you're listening all the way to the end of this show, it's probably good. We need help.
Oh, you're going to hypnotise me?
Nah, we need someone to join the Planet FPL team as a producer. We were going to say we need a sound engineer, video editor, YouTube person.
Yeah, because I'm working too hard.
Lives in North London and wants to come and join the Planet FPL team to help us with production and getting more content out. So if you're listening this late and you know anyone in North London, well, from the existing, we're not going to record more. If you are looking to get into it and you are based in and around North London, can get to Barnet, which is where we are based, then DM James on Twitter or email help@planetfpl.com and let us know if you're looking to get into.
This is a serious invite, by the way. This is not a joke. This is
time to get another producer into the mix. Manchild's around a little bit less now. He's become more child than man. And last but not least, we're going to give a question to Amber Redmond, then we wrap this pod, James. Which part did you get in the nativity play at school? Was this the peak of your acting careers or did you go to bigger and better things?
Nah, I didn't do anything. I wasn't anything. I had no interest in that. So when they were all auditioning at lunchtimes, and stuff, and after school, I'm playing football. Sod that.
I think I got a part of the king because the kings came from the Middle East, didn't they? And I was a brown guy in the class, so I got to be one of the kings. So that was it. It wasn't the highlight of my acting career. I remember I was a lion in Noah's Ark. Noah's Ark. We did some musical about Noah's Ark. I remember being a lion in full fancy dress for that. And we did another play, which was I was a Russian orphan. That was quite a big play that the school put together. I remember being that.
Is that how you learned to speak Russian?
No, that was later. My son was Joseph when he was in reception, when he was 4 years old or 3 years old or whatever. No, nursery. He was 3 years old. So, one thing I worry about for my kids is the amount of photographs of weird shit from the little that we have, which we don't have from our childhoods because you had to print the pictures of and take them on a proper camera. Yeah, I got pictures of him as Joseph and all sorts of stuff. So, I was just the king.
I don't know what I did. I remember some play going on, and I remember standing there, but I might have been like a timekeeper or something. I don't know what was going on. Sorry, Amber. Shit. Good question. Shit answer.
There we go. To all you listeners, thank you for tuning in to this episode. We do hope you enjoyed it, as well as a rundown of the games. Plenty of stuff coming at you for the rest of the week. So make sure wherever you're listening to the podcast, hit subscribe, hit like, and hit the notification bell if applicable. And you'll know as soon as that content goes live. Leaves me to say thank you for your questions. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other. Cue music, please, man. Ciao.